All right, this is the Adsense 2.0 method. What we're looking at here is a site that I had made back in March in regards to the first version. And I said to myself, there had to be a better way to do this. And there had to be a way for me to not have to worry about dealing with making a fake blog and a fake story and making sure the content was all unique and updated and all that crap. So I said to myself, essentially, do I even need content? Do I need images at all? Do I even need a site? And that's what leads me to the updated version here, which we're looking at a quote-unquote hacked page. You could do this a few different ways. You could just have a site under construction or maintenance or down while we're tweaking things or whatever the case is, but this is the angle I take. I take it as an approach of the site is just temporarily down due to a situation that is out of my control, and I plan on launching it very shortly. So the reason why this works is threefold, actually. There's different deployment strategies that you would want to do with this type of page here, and new scaling strategies that you'd want to do as well. And so we'll cover those right now. So let's go over to my Adsense account here. Like I said, you're going to be getting a bird's eye view, an inside look of exactly what I'm doing as it is today, May 26th. So I'm not just giving you a method without giving you the inside scoop on pretty much what I'm doing. So this is my stats for today: $140, yesterday $171, etc. Last 7 days, so it's about $800 total. So let's look at my performance reports here, because this is where the true method comes into play. And there's two angles that you can take with this approach. So as we can see here, I have stats. Pretty much no stats for the whole month of April, only up until the 22nd, and that's when I started to send traffic. Now, what I call this is, it's called the blast campaign, okay? And it's done for a threefold reason. The first one is you only want to do it after you get paid from AdSense, of course. You don't want to risk blasting your site with or your account with a lot of traffic without first banking what you've already are owed. So first thing, you want to do it after you get paid. Second thing, you want to do it at the end of the month, okay? You want to do it where AdSense won't, well, let's just say this. You want to do it at the end of the month because, first of all, you get the biggest bang for your buck towards the end of the month. Obviously, every dollar you put in towards the end of the month, you get a quicker return insofar as payday is concerned. You start on the first of the month, you have to wait a lot longer. So that's pretty clear cut there. The third reason is, and I'll show you right here. Well, let's just look at my stats really quick. 0 stats up until payday. Payday happened. I start the blast technique. As you can see here, what I did was, when you want to do it, you want to start off slow. You don't want to just hit $500 a day for the first day. Start off slow, do 40 or 50, double it to 100, double it again, etc. There's a certain point though where obviously you're not going to double it to 4,000 or 8,000 in a day. So what I decided to do after making a few $500 days, I decided to tame it down a little bit, and that's what we see here. But let's look at, that's for April. Now let's look at May, and we'll see the exact same process happen. May, I shut it down completely. I let it ride out until payday happened, and then I started back up again, okay? So that's what we're looking at here. And that's the third reason why you'd want to do this, because what I've come to learn with AdSense is that this is having to do with my casino exploiting, is when casinos used to look at gameplay, and when I was trying to cash out, let's say, they would want to look at you based upon what your current activity was, not what you did 3 months ago. They figured, okay, well, you want to cash out, so I want to see what you did today, what you did yesterday, or maybe even last week. So I took that concept and I brought it over to AdSense, and I figured AdSense probably has something in play where if you shut your account down and don't generate any activity, you stay off the radar completely. They aren't looking at accounts that, like as you can see here, that have one page view or whatever the case is. They're looking at it as, okay, does an account have a lot of activity in it? If it does, now I want to look into it and see where it's coming from, etc. So the third reason, most important reason why you'd want to do the blast technique at the later stages of the month is you want to go in a very quick manner for a few days or a week tops, blast the account with traffic, and then shut it down completely. You're in, you're out. AdSense, when they do, from my testing at least, I've seen AdSense do ranges, let's say, of activities, so a 2-week range. And I've noticed that if an account got banned, if it fell in that 2-week range, will that happen? But accounts that weren't in that 2-week range, I'm just giving you a hypothetical here. It's a range. I don't know exactly the date or the range of it. But if the accounts fell out of it, they weren't looked at all. So the best laid plan for me, and like I would suggest for you, would be you blast it and you just leave it alone. Completely alone. Okay, so that's the first type of deployment strategy you would want to do with this method. You want to earn whatever you're comfortable with making and then leave it alone at the end of the month. There's no reason that you need to risk more than you're comfortable doing. Okay, so there's a second approach to this, and that's what I'm doing starting June 1st, and what I've been doing this month. Not on this account, obviously, we're just looking at this account. This account is for my blast technique. So the second approach is what I call weeklies, and it's somewhat of a spin-off to the blast, but let's just look at a calendar here. So for weeklies, let's just do a hypothetical June. What I would be doing, and what I give you this technique to try to do as well, is that you want to do the same thing insofar as shutting it down, but you only want to do it on a weekly scale, okay? So you're going to do traffic for the first week and then shut it down. You're going to have more accounts doing it for the second week, and then you shut it down the third week, and then you shut it down, and then the fourth week you're going to be doing your blast from the previous accounts that were just paid from. That's what I'm currently doing. That's what's working best for me at this point in the game. And so when we look at, I wish I could show you one of my AdSense accounts for the weeklies. The problem is though I'm not going to log into 2 accounts under 1 IP and all that stuff. So right now we're just looking at a blast account, but it's the same premise. The only difference is that this revenue would be shuffled up here and it would be shut down. And the reason why the weeklies came into play was because when I had 20, 30 accounts that I was just sitting on waiting for the end of the month, I became impatient. I said to myself, I could be more productive with this type of exploit. All I have to do is just break it up. And the reason why this works out for you is because, let's say you have 5 accounts for the first week, you earn $100 a day on each one of those accounts, you're earning $500 per day, and then you're obviously earning $3,500 for that entire week collectively. So if you don't want to expand insofar as a lot of accounts, you need to have a higher comfort level with earning more per account. So you could technically do this with just 2 accounts or 3 accounts throughout the whole month. It's just you have to earn a lot more per account. But with me I don't mind making accounts that are cheap. It's really easy to do. And I'm going to show you all that in a few minutes here. So I don't mind spreading it out more. And what I'm going to be doing going into June is probably scaling that up to $1,000 to $2,000 per account. What I did and what you saw in the proof of income video is I did it where I wanted to do 500 to 1,000 typically. And then I said to myself, okay, it makes no sense risking that amount of money when I could just spend 20 or 30 bucks and get the ball rolling all over again. So I would suggest that you earn whatever you're comfortable with making, you shut the accounts down, and then the reason why this works out really well, going back to the hacked page or temporary offline page, whatever you want to do or call it, I'll provide you with this template, but you can change it to however you want. The reason why this works so well is if AdSense gets suspicious and they say, well, now you have no traffic, what's going on? They're going to look at your site and see this being the reason why you have no traffic. I would suggest you do a hacked page versus like we're temporary offline under construction, because those are things you can control more versus if you say, hey, we've been hacked, this is out of our hands until we look into this matter and figure out how to secure our site. They'll probably look at that with a little more leniency. I remember back in the day with my first account on the first method where I made $250K from off of, with that account, my very first approach with that was to just not have a site and just have an under construction page. However, I received a warning in my account because of that. Now, here's the deal. If your account receives a warning, let's say, or even if your domain gets banned and they say, oh, well, you're in violation of our terms, so we're going to ban that site on your AdSense account, well, that's fine, because with this approach, you're going to be doing it where, think about it as a battle, okay? You're sacrificing some accounts for the greater good of others. You don't care about 20, 30% account loss if you're getting paid 70%. So the math of it is you're going to have to figure out what comfort level you'll be at insofar as what you want to sacrifice in each account, etc. Like I said, what I'm doing it about up to 1,000 in each account at this point. The blast method is a little bit differently. I'm doing it about 2,000-3,000 up to that point, and then working on a new account. And then going forward in June, my weeklies are going to be at minimum 1,000 to 2,000 per account before I do another one, because like I said, I've already tested the 500 to 1,000 range, so I figured might as well move up. So this is part of the method. Obviously, the page is part of the method. The scaling strategy, or I'm sorry, the deployment strategy of how you want to deploy it, it's going to be the same thing insofar as doing it at night. That doesn't change. The only thing that changes is obviously instead of throwing your site back up, you're going to throw this page back up. And the beauty of it is that you can expand to 20, 30, 40 AdSense accounts, and you don't need to worry about building sites around each one of those accounts. You don't need to worry about making each account look realistic, and realistic in the sense that there's a reason why it's generating that kind of traffic. AdSense has weaknesses in their system right now. One of their big weaknesses is that they are too big to make it a manual procedure. So the problem obviously with them is that you can get by with doing it this way on majority of your accounts, and they probably put the personal touch into place on some of your accounts, and if those get banned, again, it's an acceptable loss, and then you just move on buying more accounts as replacements, etc. Insofar as how many accounts I have, I would say between 50 and 60 accounts at this point. It does get costly because obviously you're forking over money for the domains and the hosting and everything like that. And I'll talk to you about that in a little bit on how I have everything set up. But in this, in this type of method, it works out really well because I'm not worried so much about one account having a lot of money in it and getting banned. Furthermore, they don't have any security measures in place where you can't link the same bank account to multiple AdSense accounts. They also don't have any procedures in place for your address, for your name, for your EIN or your social. It's more or less the Wild West in that regard by being able to scale it. So that's why it's very important that if you want to scale it, now is the time to do so versus saying, I'll stick with the first version or whatever the case is, because who knows, they may put these patches into place where you cannot apply the same bank account to multiple AdSense accounts or the same EIN, etc. Microsoft Ad Center does that, for instance, for advertising, Bing advertising, where you try to input a credit card in there and it'll tell you right away it's in use in another account, or other advertising platforms do that. So why AdSense doesn't, I'm not entirely sure. So anyway, that is part of the reason why this works. The part of it is obviously they're just too big to be able to manually look at everything, and the ones they do manually look at, if they ban them, well, first of all, if they just give you a warning in your account or a site ban, fine, regardless, you're going to get paid in that account, your account's not banned, you just move on to a new domain and rinse and repeat. But obviously if they ban your account, then it's the same thing, you would just get new accounts to replace it. So I want to move over to a couple different things here. First, let's talk about the traffic sources that I have for the 2.0 method. Then I want to talk about the campaign templates. Actually, first, let's talk about, since we're on the scaling issue of it, sorry if I go over a few different things and multiple times or go back and forth, etc. So for the scaling strategy, I would suggest you use a company called Adsense G. I've dealt with him for all my accounts and they've been working fine. There is a downside. It does take a week, sometimes 2 weeks to get these accounts. So I would suggest stocking up if you plan on scaling hard. You can get accounts at other places, so that's up to you if you want to do that. I haven't tested them yet, so I can't say whether one provider works better than another. I'm just giving you exactly what I'm doing. That's why I'm suggesting them. I get no referrals or anything from that, so just hit him up and then see if he can provide you a lot of accounts. I've already asked him if that's going to be an issue by him providing not only me bulk accounts, but other people. He said that's not an issue at all. So therefore, that's why I'm suggesting you use them too. So let's look at the traffic sources here. Okay, so we're looking at the traffic provider 50 on red. This is one of the providers I use. They work pretty decent with this method here. And for instance, here's an example of some of my campaigns on their platform, the money I've spent with them so far this month, etc. As we can see here, I have my various sites. This is how I label stuff, with just site 1, 2, 3, website 1, 2, 3, etc. Their bids are about, I think they're they are $10 CPM. What I'm saying is they could be lower depending on if you can negotiate a better rate with them. I haven't done that yet, so I'm getting a really good ROI with this platform with the standard minimum bid. So, but that's not to say that you can't get anything lower. It's just, I'm mainly a media traffic guy, so that's why I use them mostly. So feel free to reach out to 50 on red and see if they can hook you up with some reduced bids here. So when we look into one of my accounts here, I'm not going to show you the URL. Obviously, I need to protect that. But insofar as the targets, I do a mixture of Bing and Yahoo. This account has Bing, Yahoo. Others have MSN, Facebook, Gmail, etc. It's just the standard targets you already know about. So each account is a little bit different. And so just do the same thing. You do the domain and the keyword targeting, etc. 50 on red requires a $500 initial deposit, so you need to be aware of that. But nonetheless, I mean, it's a pretty good traffic source, so I don't mind putting that type of deposit in there. I don't know what else I can tell you about 50 on red, except for they seem to be fairly strict with who they work with, somewhat like Traffic Vance. So when I first signed up with them, I received a welcome email, but then I received an email offering a consultation regarding my traffic campaigns and whatnot, and how they can help improve it. Problem with that is that with this type of method, I don't want them to look at any of my stuff, because obviously you're not only fooling AdSense with this new method, you're fooling the traffic provider as well, and you need to be aware of that, where it could be an issue if they look at it. So I don't want to raise any red flags, so I don't reach out to them and talk to them or anything like that. The other issue with this platform is that I'm capped at $100 a day spend at this point, and in order to get that lifted, I need to have 2 referrals from either affiliate networks or other advertising platforms, which isn't a problem. The only problem is that, again, I'm going to have a conversation with them or reach out to them regarding my account. So this is something at this stage of the game I don't want to do. I'm perfectly fine with where I'm at with $100 a day spend. Ideally, I would like to be at $200 or $300 a day, but nonetheless, I don't want to rock the boat at this point. So we have 50 on red as a traffic platform, and like I said, we're going to be using, I'm going to talk to you about the campaign templates in a minute, but we're going to be using them. Media traffic has always been good to me, no issues with them. So I do, like I said, the same: Bing, Craigslist, Facebook, MSN, Yahoo, etc. I don't really do YouTube. I don't want to do anything Google related, no Google products, Gmail, Google.com or YouTube, etc. So, but that's up to you if you want to risk it. It's just, I think, maybe a quicker route for somebody to complain to AdSense about your campaign, etc. So that's up to you. So with DTN, this next one, it's called dntx.com, domain name traffic exchange.com. Very decent platform, actually. This offers some different choices with what you can run. And so let's create a new campaign here. I'm not going to create one, but I'm just going to show you the interface here. They have something called a zero-click, which is a PPR, pay-per redirect. And that works really well, where it's not a pop-up at all. It's all domain name placements. And then when you make a campaign, that domain that someone types up will get automatically redirected to your site and your campaign. So it works really well in that regard, and I'm pretty pleased with that at this point. What they have is run a network with the PPR, or they have the PPV with the run a network, or they have keywords and categories, etc. Currently, I've just been doing the PPR with the run a network. I haven't really tested the keyword stuff with this yet, primarily because I didn't see a lot of traffic with this at this point, but initial stages of testing are still underway, so it's going to take me at least a week or so to figure that out if I want to go from one to the other. The run a network obviously has a ton of traffic, and that being that it's converting really well with the PPR, I'm pretty satisfied with it. And again, with the run a network, you'd be using the Facebook campaign. You can use whatever campaign you want, but this is what I'm using, the Facebook campaign with it, because it is converting really well for me since it applies to a lot of people. One of the downfalls with the DNTX platform is that, well, there's a few downfalls, but one of them is that they're based in Munich, Germany, so the time frame is going to throw you off a little bit. I am on PST time right now, so I'm only able to run the campaign at 5 or 6 o'clock PST time once AdSense closes, just like the first version, up until midnight my time. And that's because in Germany it's going to be 9 a.m. their time, and I don't want to have the campaign running while they're in the office. So in this regard, I would suggest you look at the time zones that you're in and figure out if this is worth running for you, because if you're in a different time zone, it may conflict with AdSense, or it may conflict with them, etc. This isn't a platform that I'm comfortable with running, let's say, overnight, because again, it's going to be morning into the afternoon their time. So, and it all goes down to, can I make a new account if I get banned with them? Probably I could. So in the end, I don't know if it's that big of an issue, but I'm only in month 3 with this 2.0 method, so I don't want to start rocking the boat too hard right now. I want to scale, but I want to be smart about it, and I don't want to piss off these traffic platforms. So the second issue with them is that, well, here's the upside to it. With Run a Network, the minimum bid is $1 CPM, which is huge. I mean, that's not huge in that sense. I'm sorry. It's a great deal. That's what I meant by that. So the problem with that is, though, you don't get a lot of traffic with it. The nice thing, though, is once you raise your bids to $3 and $4 CPM, you're starting to get a decent amount of traffic, and then you can just play from there whether you want a lot of traffic and then bid $5, $6, $7, etc. It's just you got to get a feel for how much traffic you want, how much money you want to make, because with this new strategy, it can literally be overnight you're making $1,000. The only question is like I said, how much do you want to spread that out between different accounts and all that good stuff. So this is the other platform I'm using. So here's one of the downsides to it. Okay, so I've been doing, for the month of May, I've been doing my weeklies, but I did stop mid-week on one of them, and it kind of it went with the week 4 blast that I'm going to be doing anyway, so it wasn't really going to affect me that much of stopping a little early. But I did stop it after a week of sending, just because what happened was I was getting a huge ROI on this platform. I was getting like a 5,000% ROI, and I'm not kidding, it was that high. Spend like $10 and earn 500. So the problem with that is that after a week, what happened was I noticed my account, in my AdSense account, my click-through rate went from 10, 11%, and I can talk to you about the CTR in a minute. It went from around that to back down to 2, 3%. And I said to myself, ooh, that's interesting, because AdSense is clearly doing something with the traffic and the clicks that I'm generating for them. So I wonder what it is. So what I decided to do was, at that point, I was getting between like a 700-800% ROI, and I was completely fine with that. That's not a big deal for me at all. But what I don't know is what will happen after the earnings will get finalized, because that's the actual second quote-unquote scrub or shaving of your earnings. So I noticed the real-time shaving of them, and so what I decided to do was pause this platform until I got a hold of the finalized earnings to see exactly what they would be. If they're not going to be shaved that much, obviously typical shaving is going to be 5-10%. I can live with that. If it's going to be a 50% shave or whatever the case is, then I'm not going to deal with that at all. So I'm just going to have to wait 6-7 days and then find out. So I can give you the heads up on what I see from my end insofar as how much I'm going to get shaved. But nonetheless, if it's not much, I'm going to be using this a lot more come June, etc. So the fourth platform is Direct CPV. I've heard mixed reviews about this, so it's one that I'm just testing out right now with one account. I have several accounts ready to go with it, but what I've noticed was similar, where it would give you a lot of income or a lot of revenue, and then it would start taking it back. I've heard that from a few clients. And I also heard one client tell me that at the end of the month, there was a 40% or so shave. And so therefore, I'm just running one account on it right now because I want to see it for myself. If I don't see it happen that much, I'm going to use this platform for a lot of my accounts too. And what I would suggest you do is you segment the AdSense accounts that you have with the different traffic platforms you have. I wouldn't suggest you cross-contaminate them, because what if direct CPV raises a red flag in AdSense and you're sending it to all your accounts where you should have just sent them to a few accounts? And that's what you see here. I have these various 5 accounts for simply direct CPV. I have, let's go here. I have these accounts simply for DTNX, same with media traffic, same with 50 on red, etc. So you just want to be smart about it, just in case that they can somehow somehow ban you based upon the traffic platform. You don't want to pollute or contaminate your accounts that way. So those are the traffic platforms I use. So I want to talk to you now about the campaign templates themselves. Okay, so we already talked about the hacked page that you're going to have up all the time. I talked to you about how you want to scale this out. I'm going to show you my folders here insofar as how I have it all working and configured, etc. So there won't be any confusion on how this works. But let's talk about the campaign template page at first. Okay, so this is the new template page. It's using the same text, I guess pretty much 100% as my first version, but the design and the layout is a lot cleaner. Okay, so not only that, I tested a few different variations out, and I found that this one to be the best version, just because when it's a logo, something they're familiar with, they tend to click it more. When it's a big box like this, instead of just like a simple click here or a link, they tend to click more. And like I said, this is a lot cleaner looking, so that's why people would tend to click more. So this layout you'll get obviously as part of the campaign templates. Another feature I put in here is when they exit, let's say I want to exit this campaign, I have a pop-up come into place that says, you can read it for yourself, of course, but it's just essentially another alert telling them they need to stay on the page if they want to keep their account intact, and they need to click the ad, etc. And if they leave the page, it'll get terminated. So if you click stay on this page, you'll obviously get the ad being reloaded, the campaign page being reloaded, etc. As you can see there, the ad is placed behind the image, and thus that gives it a high click-through rate as well. Talking about the click-through rate, you may wonder, okay, well, if you're getting a great click-through rate, that's good, but what about being banned? Again, we're going back to the numbers game with this. This isn't about running one account and then just praying that AdSense doesn't think your 3 or 4 or 5% click-through rate is too high. This is a matter of you're doing whatever the heck you want, and you're doing it across a spectrum of accounts, and AdSense isn't going to be able to catch up with you. And that's clearly what I've been able to do here. Let's look at my AdSense account here for... wanted to give you, I think I got another one with this. Yeah, these are more normal click-through rates because this account is hooked up to a different traffic provider, so the click-through rates aren't as good. With 50 on red, the click-through rates are a lot higher. Like I said, the downside with that is you're paying more for the clicks, so it kind of evens out in that regard. But I have click-through rates of 10, 11, 12%. I have it on my other campaign. I actually want to show that to you, my other AdSense account, excuse me. I would have to essentially stop this video and then make a new one and connect them with, because I would have to change my IP, clear my cookies and all that stuff to get that new AdSense account. But I might do that because I want to show you. I can get really high click-through rates and it doesn't matter. I still get paid out on it. So the fact of the matter is that you can do whatever you want. Their algorithm has some features in it where, yes, if you from day one generate $1,000 a day, it's going to trigger something. Probably if you're on the same IP, it'll trigger something. Probably if you're on the same domain, etc. So if you don't take certain precautions, yes, that'll probably trigger something. But insofar as getting a high click-through rate, doing a blast technique, doing what I've already said thus far, it has not proven to be an issue with me yet. Okay. So you can see why this would get a high click-through rate, because obviously the AdSense ad is behind this big logo here, and each type of campaign has its own separate logo and theme and whatnot. So of course the main premise of it remains the same, just the logo here, and then the verbiage here changes a little bit. So this is the campaign template, and once we, like I said, it's the same thing if a refresh happens. Yep, so it pops up there. So I talked to you about those things. Let's talk about the folders that I have on how I scale this, etc. So we're looking at here, just like I talked about before, insofar as the weeklies are concerned, with AdSense accounts running for just 5, 6, 7 days, then you stop them. You can run them longer, it doesn't necessarily matter. I just look at it in the perspective of, let's say in one account I generated $1,000 and I'm earning $100 a day in that one account. For every single day that you run the method, you are risking that account. No two ways about it. So you need to look at it as, do I want to risk $1,000 to earn $100 more? Okay, if the answer is no, then you stop sending that account and then start over with a new one. And then you keep working on that new one until the ratio is something where you're not comfortable risking anymore. It's just a simple risk-reward ratio. So in that regard, like I said, I wanted to do a test, 500 to 1,000 for these weeklies, and that's what I've been at. And then now, starting in June, I'm going to be doing between 1,000 and 2,000 for each account for the weeklies. Once the week is done, I shut them down, I start new accounts, etc. That's what we see here. We can look at week 1 right here. So these are week 1 accounts that I have. I just notate here, no pin yet. I'll talk to you about the pins and how to do all that stuff in a little bit. So all I do is, when I do these weeklies, I buy AdSense account, or I buy domains in bulk. And so I buy them like 10 at a time, let's say, and I hook hosting up to just all 10. I don't have separate hosting for each one. I did in the beginning, but from this point, I don't do that anymore, because to me, it doesn't seem like they're going to ban your other accounts because one has the same shared hosting account. It'd be pretty much impossible for them to do that. So I buy all these domains, I create the accounts, I have my I'm not going to log in or click this because obviously I don't want to give away my login details, but anyway, this text document has my GoDaddy login details. These have my domains. Each one of these has its own individual campaign, as well as the AdSense login for it. What I do now is I put my ad code in there as well. So let's say you want to experiment with a 336 by 280 or any ad unit, for instance, not just the 300 by 250. You don't want to have an issue of, okay, now I got to log in at 20 different AdSense accounts to go grab that code because I didn't preemptively have it. So what I would suggest you do is you would first want to get the codes and then put them in your appropriate folder. And then once, if you want to do your testing on it, they're already there for you. So essentially, this is pretty much what each folder has in it, the applicable campaigns and AdSense accounts in each one. Each AdSense account has its own unique address associated with it, its own unique login email and all that stuff. One thing I want to backtrack on is, so I don't forget, and I'm sorry if I'm skipping over some things and whatnot, but obviously I'm talking a lot, so I'm trying to get it all in and try to remember everything at once here. One of the things that you're going to want to do, I can actually give you an idea that you can keep testing on. This is an idea that I had. I call this the iframe test. So what you can do, this is something I'm not doing right now because this current method is working really well for me, but what you can do is, instead of giving AdSense a disabled hacked page, what you can do is iframe somebody else's site. And I know that sounds stupid, but it's actually something that worked well for me. And then I went to an easier approach with this method. But you can iframe someone else's site. So what you would want to do is not have a big website, obviously, because they're not going to believe you own it. But what you would do is you would just iframe a normal looking website that you find. You would want to make sure that the ad unit is the same. And so, for instance, the ad unit has a 300 by 250 ad on it, etc. Something that's similar to your domain. What I did was, for instance, you can't see my domains right now because I have them blurred. But for instance, what I would do is I would have a high CPC domain. So when I go to GoDaddy and buy the domains, with this method, all I did was I buy high CPC domains, auto insurance domains, health insurance, life insurance, legal domains, medical career domains, etc. Anything that gives you a high CPC, and then you just add a word or two at the end of it to make it, a little bit different. So that works really well. That gives me high CPCs. But the second approach to this is, and you can do this, is that you clone somebody else's site by iframing it. And I'll give you the iframe code that I have. It's based on Microsoft Publisher because that's all I use. So if it's not compatible for you, then you just have to find your own code to iframe. I think the code would be the same. It's just how you open the Publisher page. So I could give you the code separately too. But anyway, you would iframe their site and you would use their exact domain, but you would just put an S at the end of it. So let's just hypothetically say I want to iframe health reports. Well, I guess that's a bad one because that's a little bit too generic. Let's say I want to iframe the site mynewhealthreports.com. It's a real site. It's somebody else's site. What I would do is I would change it slightly to say mynewhealthreport.com. I would either subtract an S or add an S, or add like a little variation to it where it wouldn't look so different from the original site. And I would iframe their site, and where Adsense would believe my site is their site or their site is my site, I guess. And that's worked well for me in the beginning. But like I said, it was getting to be a little more work than what I thought I needed to do. And I decided to go with this route instead. But it did work in the sense of being able to fool them, being able to send traffic and earn money and all that stuff too. And so it works out well with platforms because obviously the platforms, you need to not have this page loaded when you first create your campaign. So going back to the platforms, you're going to want to create the campaign as an iframed site of somebody else's if you do this approach, because obviously you're not going to have a real site up there. Do it for somebody else's, they'll approve it, and then at that point you switch it to this hacked page. I've tried to submit the campaign, this hacked page campaign, directly to them, and they didn't approve it because they believe, too, your site is temporarily down. Please resubmit once it's back up with whatever campaign you choose, etc. So going to this tab here, this is just a simple auto insurance quote website that I found that I iframed. This has nothing to do with the other version that I told you about of cloning somebody else's site exactly and then just changing the domain a little bit. This is just me. I have 10 auto insurance domains. I need an auto insurance website, obviously, to put them on and submit to the traffic platforms. That's where I use just any old, doesn't matter what site it is. More or less, the platforms will approve it as long as it looks, somewhat decent. So that's my technique there insofar as getting the campaigns on the platforms. So let's go back to these accounts here. So again, I have my GoDaddy information on a text file, the domains on one. Each AdSense account, you could have it on a separate file too. I just I put them in the individual folders insofar as the AdSense login information is concerned. So I'll talk to you about how the whole AdSense account creation process works and how you link accounts to your bank account and all that stuff in a minute. So let's go back here. So as we can see here, I have my 3 weeks in play. Week 1 I went and I stopped. Week 2 I went and I stopped. Week 3. Week 4 is going to be, I'm cutting it close, but I'm going to do it anyway because I have a bunch of reserved AdSense accounts. So I have both a week 4 and a week 4 blast. There are two different things. The week 4 blast is for campaigns, or I'm sorry, for AdSense accounts that you've already been paid off of. The reason why this works is because once your account has been paid and you've generated some revenue in it, it gets a lot less scrutiny. That's what I've come to learn, at least. So this lets you do the blasts a lot easier and a lot less risky. If you were to just blast it, let's say in a week 1, and then at that point shut it down, you're giving them 3 weeks to essentially look at your account and say to themselves, well, this is really weird. How did he get this much traffic and then all of a sudden it doesn't get any traffic? You don't want to do that. If you do the blast campaign, you want to do it in the last 2 days or the last week of the month. You send traffic, you shut it down, you wait, as you saw when we first started this video. of my AdSense account. Then you wait until you get paid. Week 4 is different though. Week 4 is the same time frame as the blast campaign, but it's different. It's only generating $50 to $100 a day for those 10 accounts that I have in there. All right, so it's going to be a little bit different. They're going to earn money as well. It's just not going to be in such a spectacular fashion because you got to be a little bit slower and steadier with accounts that you haven't been paid on yet. Once the new month begins, every single account in here gets shut down completely. Once June happens, I'm going to get 40 or whatever more accounts, not all at once in a stagnated fashion, but I'm going to get a lot of accounts. And I'm going to start the process over again. I'm going to start week 1. While I'm working week 1, I'm going to buy accounts for week 2, rinse and repeat, etc. So I am sure you can see the process here, my methodology, my thinking behind it. It's worked very well for me thus far. You will get some accounts banned. That's just part of the process. However, when you look at it in the aggregate collectively, you're not going to really be too concerned with it, because if they ban 20-30% of your accounts and you get paid 80-70% of them, well, that's fine with you, I would presume. So that's fine with me. Hell, take my $500 accounts. I don't care. As long as I'm getting the 20 or the 30,000 from the other accounts, I could care less. So this approach has been proven. Like I said, I did it for the first month and I got paid around 10 G's on it. Wasn't quite sure if, okay, did I just get extremely lucky, or is this actual method that I have here, a new theory on it? So that's why I did it for the whole month of April and was paid in May. And for the May's traffic, it's really hard because you can't look into all your AdSense accounts unless you want to spend a lot of time changing IPs and doing a lot of effort. So you do this somewhat in a blind fashion, but that doesn't matter because I trust my ROIs. I trust my campaigns work, just like I've been using them for the last several months, just like the method has been working ever since version 1 came out, since back in 2013. So I trust the system. I let it work. Each day what I do, though, I stopped doing this because I'm a lot less paranoid now, being that I've been paid again. But each day, or let's say each week, what you can do is once you've stopped these, you can log back into them and relaunch them. Not insofar as the traffic platform is concerned, but insofar as just loading the campaign page back up, just to make sure that the AdSense ad pops back up again. If it doesn't pop back up again, you obviously know the account is done. It's burnt. So that's partly true, but then at that point, what you can do is you can log into, let's say, the Gmail account and then see if you got a disabled email. If you get a disabled email, then you see which one it is. Is it a complete account disabling, or is it just the domain itself? So there's certain things you can do to, check on these accounts even after you're done traffic with them. Obviously, the accounts that you're running traffic on each day, for, let's say, right now, for instance, it would be these 2 examples. I'm going to be loading them into the PPV providers. So in that respect, I'm going to know anyway whether or not the accounts are in good standing. So if they're not, of course, you just shut the account down through the traffic source, as well as you wouldn't send traffic to it anymore. So what else did I want to talk about here? I'm going to pause really quick to regroup my thoughts. Oh, actually, I already know a couple things here. IPs. You want to document your IPs, okay? I'm not going to open this file because that reveals my IPs and stuff, but I have a lot of IPs documented. You want to make sure that your account, let's say you have 5 accounts, your account 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, each one has its own dedicated IP, and you document that, and then once you change your IP, if you get the same IP from the previous accounts, don't use that again. What I typically do is when that happens, I just figure, hell, it's a free pass to log back into that current account and see what's happening. Look at my performance reports, look to see what my CPC has been, my CTR, etc. Because I've already put in the effort to change the IP address, to clear the cookies. Another thing too is clear your computer name. That's what I do just in case. So for me, it's just a free pass to go ahead and check it out. So, but yeah, I make sure all my IPs are documented. I make sure all my finalized earnings are documented because once the end of the month comes and then first or second come, that's when all the earnings get finalized. And then at that point, I log back into every single account and then notate how much I'm expected to make, essentially. So it's a process that you're not guaranteed to make, obviously, because you still need to wait to get paid for. But you definitely want to know, okay, did I make 10,000? Did I make 20? Did I make 30? Etc. So those are some suggestions I would have for you there. So yeah, I'll pause it right now, and then let me group some thoughts and come right back. Okay, so yeah, the last thing I wanted to talk to you about is connecting the bank accounts to AdSense, as well as doing the PIN verifications, as well as changing your address, etc. So what you see right here is just a list of the same address, but just in a different format. And this is all you have to do, okay? So in each one of my accounts here, let's say, whatever, it doesn't matter which one, AdSense login here. It not only has my login information, but it has the specified address that I have for that account. And what I do essentially is, pull that up here, each one of those accounts has a different unique address to it, and AdSense will send you the PIN in this exact format. So you can put 2 periods in there, you can put a comma in there, you can put no abbreviation, or no periods, excuse me. You can abbreviate one and not the other, and vice versa, etc. So you get the point there. You can make a ton of accounts, have them all the PINs sent to you the same way. It doesn't change your address at all, but it changes it enough where you can make the different PINs out and make it and know that they go to the different AdSense accounts that you have. So insofar as linking your bank accounts up, that is not an issue either. What you can do is, all you have to do is just send your, put your bank account information in there, and then do your test deposits. And then if they process the test deposits, then your account is good to go. I already did that with all my accounts, as you could see. I have 4 or 5 AdSense accounts hooked up to the same exact bank account. And one thing you can do too is, if you open up a new bank account, also open up a savings account, because typically they just give that to you for free anyway. It's no extra work involved. So that will allow you to have 2 accounts by just doing it one time. With doing it that way, you would have a business checking, let's say, and a business savings account. So those things work out really well for me. One thing that I don't know yet, which I'm going to find out, but I don't know yet, is once my, well, here's, let me say this. Once an account has been banned with a specific bank account in it, that doesn't ban the other accounts with the same bank account in it. So don't worry about, oh, well, now they're all linked together and they're going to follow me and trace me and all that. All the notions that you may have, and I had too, obviously, back in the day, about how AdSense works, it doesn't quite work that way. It may work in a time frame of months or years, you know, where, yeah, eventually they can like connect the dots and etc. But if we're just talking about you're getting in, you're getting out, you're getting paid, the account lasts for a couple months, and you repeat the process, they don't have the time or the resources to do this for that many AdSense publishers. They're not going to be able to know, okay, well, you're back, and, you know, ban this bank account again, etc. They could. I'm not saying they can't do that, but they just don't do that. So anyway, the bank accounts that have been linked to my banned accounts are currently linked to my good accounts, and they are still in good standing, obviously, and I was still paid on them this month, etc. So that isn't an issue there. The only difference is, I don't know what will happen is when I make a new bank account, or I'm sorry, a new AdSense account, and hook up now that same bank account to it. It may do something to it, so they may have some security measure in place to do that. But I'll know by simply just putting the test deposit in and seeing if it works. If it goes through, it works. I don't see that being an issue at all, actually. But if it is, then all you have to do is just open up a new account, or just what's nice about it is that you can actually open up multiple bank accounts just using EIN numbers if you're in the U.S. I'm sure other countries have different terms for it and whatnot, but it's a really simple process. You just go to the irs.gov website, you apply for a new EIN number, you simply put in there that you're a sole proprietorship or a general partnership or an LLC if you want to take it that route. I don't. I just put in that I'm a partnership. That allows me to put in an EIN number. I put in one of these different addresses in there, and that's it. And then I hook it up to, like I said, my bank account. Once finalized earnings happen, I make sure that everything is separated. So I'll never log into one AdSense account and just simply clear the cookies and log into another. I will change everything I possibly can before doing so, just as a precautionary measure. And it's probably way too, I'm probably worrying a little bit too much there, but you never know. If you have several $1,000s in an account, you don't want to risk it by just not changing your computer name or IP, stuff like that. So So yeah, with AdSense G, he can definitely hook you up with getting you multiple accounts. He's really good at that. I wouldn't recommend him if I wasn't using him myself. He does take a little bit long to respond, sometimes a day or two just to respond. So just bear with him in that regard. The other thing is he may take a week or two to get you the accounts. So if you're going to buy bulk accounts, I would suggest you buy them ahead of time, and then you can have them on the back burner. Like I said, I have a lot of accounts ready to go for June 1st, and I have accounts right now ready to go for week 4 and my week 4 blast. So I believe I covered everything that I wanted to cover insofar as how this all works together. I'm going to be providing you with the campaign templates. The template for the offline page, you can change that to however you want or make your own, as well as I'll give you the iframe code that I use as well. I'll give it to you in a publisher format as well as the code itself if you don't use publisher. And that's about it, I believe, for the 2.0 method. And as always, we have ongoing consulting support. So, if I missed anything, if you have any further questions, that's not a problem at all. You feel free and ask, and I'm always available on Skype, as you already know. And we'll go from there. So in closing, this is the AdSense 2.0 method, and I hope you get started on this right away. So thanks for your time.